The market always goes up in the long run. How is that a myth? I mean, over time, if you look back from when the S&P started to where it is now, it's gone up, right?
Historically, yes, the market does go up over the long haul, but in the short term, all bets are off. So we generally prescribe that it's not a great idea to have all of your money in the market. Some of it put aside specifically for a rainy day where maybe that specific piece of your portfolio, it hasn't gone down in value during troubling times. That's the piece that you're going to be able to typically spend a little bit more fearlessly in retirement, so you can just keep on with business as usual, regardless of what the market's doing.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Saturday State of Mind. Mike, thanks for joining me here today.
It's good to be here. Thanks for letting me out to go to the bathroom and have some water.
Before we actually start talking about things that are real, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Mike, I want to talk about myths.
Okay.
Not Chupacabra.
That's my favorite one.
Not the Yeti.
Okay.
Not Nessie.
Bigfoot.
But I feel like that's the same thing as the Yeti. But I want to talk about retirement myths.
I saw that one coming. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, we actually could talk about Chupacabra, but that's probably for another channel. So there's 5 big retirement myths that get people in a lot of trouble. And I want to know, who's out there spreading these myths around?
I have no idea. I think there's a lot of bad information, or just sometimes because of fear, people kind of create things in their minds that might not necessarily be true in reality. And it can cost you an awful lot of money if you're not too careful.
I feel in like nowadays, an age, it's like access to information is so much more prevalent, right? Like I remember being a kid, there was literally like 6, 7 like TV stations. And now it's like, I don't even know how many they have. If people still even have like television, they watch, like they haven't cut the cable yet. But then social media and be like, hey, did you hear about this?
Do you remember when you wanted to learn things, you had to go to the library?
Oh yeah. Do you remember how it's not the circulation desk, but the references, the resource, like all the encyclopedias, you couldn't take them out of the library.
No.
So you had to stay there and do your
You had to
research.
sneak them out.
Yeah. What? No.
That's what we did where I was from. Anyway, let's get into these myths. So people want to know what they should be avoiding here, Jess.
Okay, sure. So let's unpack a couple of them. The first one I want to talk about is that you only need, myth number 1, you only need 80% of your income in retirement.
What happened to the other 20%?
Don't need it.
It just goes away?
Don't worry about it. Well, you're not working anymore, right? So you don't have that steady income, but you only got to make up about 80% of what was happening. Why? Where does that come from?
Rules of thumb, one size fits all advice can be directionally helpful. You might not need all the money that you were used to spending while working. So as an example, maybe you need one less car, or you'll be spending less on gas because you're not commuting. So there might be some things that you spend less money on, but there might be things that you spend more money on, say travel, God forbid if you want to do that, or new hobbies, or a big thing that tends to sneak up on a lot of people in retirement is medical expenses.
Oh, sure.
So I have no idea if you'll spend 80, 90, or 110%, but just blindly assuming that life is cheaper in retirement is probably a costly mistake.
Yeah, with healthcare too, like Medicare, pretty good program, right? But you might have to pay a little bit more for prescriptions or a supplemental plan too, right?
And it's not even just specific just to healthcare. If you just think about how life in the United States has been, say over the last 5 or 6 years, nobody would have told you that prior to COVID, hey, over the next 5 or 6 years, everything's going to double in price. So if you thought you were only going to spend 80% of your 2019 income, when you compare that to today, you're spending 160, 200% of what you were spending pre-COVID. So what should you expect to pay is really highly dependent on where you're going to retire and what you think your lifestyle is going to look like, your health, amongst many other things. But I think the word to the wise here is just don't make a blind assumption.
Yeah, that's true. Have you ever looked back at those, like when you were born in 1980, that you like what, a loaf of bread costs or a gallon of milk or a house, and like how that compares to today? Like if you're retiring today, like in 20 years from now, what do you think bread might cost? I mean, already it's outrageous.
I'm afraid to ask.
Me too. All right, moving on to myth number 2 here. This is my favorite, close to my heart. You gotta claim Social Security, get it while the getting's good before it's gone.
Where's it going?
Away.
Well, it's going away?
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Is that gonna fix the trillions of debt?
Here's what's funny, and for I think a lot of people, they're hearing this for the first time. It's already gone.
Oh, damn.
It was never there. So Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system,
Okay.
meaning all the Social Security tax revenue that comes in a given year is paid out to everybody that's receiving benefits. I think people are under this illusion that when money is taken out of your paycheck, that your allotted amount is stored in like some kind of federal safety deposit
It's
box.
going in the Jess Panico fund.
Right, like it's like in a piggy bank in your name that you draw from once you hit 65. Your money has already long since been spent. It went to some other combination of retirees ages ago. So Social Security isn't going away. It is already gone. Now, I'm not saying that to incite any kind of panic. What they're talking about Social Security going away is Social Security is about to become somewhat underfunded. So for all the anticipated tax revenues that are coming in, there's not going to be enough revenue coming in to counter all of the, or to offset all the expenses and the benefits going out. So it's somewhere in the mid 2030s that they're going to be short something like 20 to 30 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
So there'll be a gap. What that means is
Well, that is okay because you only need 80% of your income for retirement.
that'd be great if those two dots connected. That'd be convenient. But what it means is that absent some sort of congressional action, everybody in the mid 2030s is going to by necessity have to get a 20 to a 30% haircut to their Social Security, which everybody calm down. That's not sustainable. The majority of people that are retired are exclusively dependent on Social Security. So a cut would be untenable.
Sure.
No bueno. So they'll have to fix it. Those fixes will run the gambit in terms of how palatable they are. And it depends on who you're talking to, like in terms of what's palatable or not. But some of the things they could do to kind of close that gap, if you will, is they could raise the age again at which you become eligible. They could increase Social Security tax for either employers or employees or both. They could make changes to the cost of living. They might introduce the dreaded means test amongst many, many other things. But it's just to say that because we know Social Security, cutting it is not a tenable solution.
Sure.
They'll change it. Those changes may or may not be pleasant to you, whether you're retired or still working, but they've changed it before. They'll change it again. I think the message here, Jess, is I wouldn't go making a panic-oriented Social Security decision just because you feel like things are going away and you have to get yours while it still lasts.
Yeah. There's so much more to unpack on Social Security, and we actually have other videos just around the subject. So if you want to hear more, go check out one of those videos, but we got to move on here. Myth number 3, the market always goes up in the long run. How is that a myth? I mean, over time, if you look back from when the S&P started to where it is now, it's gone up, right?
So yeah, in the long run, in like the century odd of data that we have to review, we know that the market over long enough periods of time generally goes up. And that's a good thing for investors. So if you put your money out to risk and you're able to be patient, generally you'll get your money back with all sorts of interest or capital appreciation because investing tends to pay dividends. It's really nice. Thing is, when you're retired, now you're exclusively, you're dependent now on your nest egg.
Sure.
And there are times when the market goes down. And when the market does go down, it tends to happen quickly and oftentimes in dramatic fashion. There's blood on the streets. There's panic everywhere. The news has all those flashy graphics about doomsday and this and that. And so not only might you lose money at a very vulnerable time, so, you know, it'd be terrible to lose money directly out the gate in retirement, but there's also kind of a psychological effect to all this too. I think a lot of people will say, hey, well, listen, if the market goes down, just wait it out. Don't panic. You'll be fine. And from an investment perspective, that might historically be technically true. Thing is, Jess, is that people do behave differently when the market's down.
Well, I mean, Mike, if you're retired and you have no like steady stream of income and you're watching that nest egg go down, 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 I mean, how long did it take to recover from like 2001, 2008? Like if you retired in those years and you weren't properly invested, I mean, that was probably a hard pill to swallow watching it go down for
So if you're talking about the tech bubble or the Great
housing,
Recession
yeah.
that we had in 2008, In those instances, it could take 3, sometimes as many as 5 years for the market to regain previously lost highs.
Not how I
So
want to start off my retirement.
3 to 5 years is a long time in retirement, and it could be some of your best years. When we talk about how long is a retirement, by life expectancy, 65 to 85, it's about 20 years. So for some people, it'll be longer. It'll be 30 years. But how many of those 20 to 30 years are good years? Like when you have your health, when you have your energy, when you still have family that's local. It might only be 5 of those years, 10 or 15. So if you have to take years off from living your best life and spending fearlessly and doing all the things that you want to do because the market is down, which, by the way, is a known risk. We know somewhere along a 20 or a 30-year trip, the market's going to go down several times. If during those periods you don't spend freely and fearlessly, you don't really have a good plan.
Sure.
So I get it. Sometimes if you're, say, like a market analyst or you're a financial advisor, you say, hey, those people have nothing to worry about. So long as they don't worry, the market will come back. But what are they doing while they're waiting? Are they delaying trips and canceling trips? Are they delaying home improvements? Are they being a little bit more skimpy around the holidays with friends and family?
I mean, they might tell you to the face they're not worried about it, but inevitably there's some fear that's corroding in the back of the mind. But it doesn't mean don't invest in the market. It just means have a well-diversified plan.
Historically, yes, the market does go up over the long haul, but in the short term, all bets are off. So we generally prescribe that it's not a great idea to have all of your money in the market. Some of it put aside specifically for a rainy day where maybe that specific piece of your portfolio, it hasn't gone down in value during troubling times. That's the piece that you're going to be able to typically spend a little bit more fearlessly in retirement, so you can just keep on with business as usual, regardless of what the market's doing.
So while it's great that you've earned all the money and you save the money in retirement, you have to have a proper plan about how to spend the money too, right?
Always.
Okay, myth number 4 here. I'll spend less in retirement because I won't have a mortgage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that one.
So it just depends probably on when you bought the house, with the way that interest rates have changed and housing prices have changed,
Yep.
say just over the last 5 years. If you bought a home before COVID, there's probably still hope for you to pay that thing off, prior to retirement. If you bought your home during or after COVID, it might be a totally different can of worms, not only because of the cost of the home, but the interest rate that you're paying too.
I think a lot of people also ask, like, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. Should I pay off the house, right? Because they want less expenses in retirement, which sounds like a good idea, but maybe that doesn't always make sense.
It has to be decided individually, right? Should I pay off my mortgage? It depends. What's the balance of the mortgage? What's the interest rate on it? I believe actually we have a video on this topic as well, so check that out. Leaving that aside for a moment, even if you are able to pay off the mortgage, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be all this free cash flow. So I think the way that this myth plays out in reality, Jess, is people say, hey, my mortgage is $2,000 a month, but as soon as I make my last payment, now I'll have $2,000 more per month to spend on martinis and travel and gifts for everybody. And, we'll get another dog, whatever you want to spend the money on. But we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in the conversation. There are other things that kind of counteract that savings. First of all, cost of living, inflation, things just get more expensive.
Sure.
Something that's also very unpopular, but you will start to spend more and more, progressively more money on healthcare as you age. In fact,
Prescriptions, maybe.
it's not just prescriptions, it's copays, it's deductibles, it's all of it.
That rehab, trip.
Healthcare is really expensive. And even a lot of what people are doing now that's outside of directly like in the doctor or the hospital environment, they're getting supplements, they're going to, special yoga classes.
Med spas.
You spend more money on your health as you age, and that can sometimes just swap in on your budget for what had previously been going towards a mortgage. So while I do hope for many people that free cash flow is truly free, just understand that there are other like line items on your soon to be budget. They're going to look to try to claw back some of that money.
I'm finding with most of these myths, Mike, that it's like it could be, but not necessarily, because it's such an individualized process. And that's why you really can't say, oh, what's my sister doing? What's my neighbor doing? What's my brother doing? You got to figure out in your situation what's best for you, right?
100%.
Okay. All right. Myth number 5 here. Estate planning is just for the wealthy.
It's not just for the wealthy?
Mm-mm.
Says who?
I don't think so.
I mean, I got my will and I've got all my valuable possessions in a little shoebox in my closet.
Oh, will. You know what a will is? It guarantees probate.
It guarantees
That's what
probate.
they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell the people why do you need to go through proper estate planning even if you're not, $10 million heir?
Well, let's put it this way. Say if you hate the kids and everybody else in your family that's going to pick through your belongings after you're gone, then don't do anything. You'll leave them with quite a mess. If all you have is nothing, or as far as a will, you have guaranteed probate for those people, which is a state-oriented process. Your stuff is locked down sometimes for a year or longer. The state's involved in deciding who should get what and under what circumstances. And generally what happens is two things. Number one, it's a long, drawn-out process. It's very burdensome. The people who are directly involved have to spend a lot of time adjudicating the process. They oftentimes have to lawyer up, and that can be really confusing and expensive. And then the bigger thing, Jess, that happens is people start to fight,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Chances are you've witnessed somewhere in your family somebody has died, and then you've seen other people act like absolute animals in the aftermath.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what happened to those people? Money was on the table. There was a house that couldn't be cleanly divided. There was some sort of precious heirloom, like mom's ring that can't be split three ways. Who's going to get it? Absent there being direction, people will go at it. And a couple things happens, right? As a result, one is the more you fight, the richer the attorneys get,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what's in it for them. The second thing is that often this rips families apart. What do you think Christmas looks like the year after your family just gouged each other's eyes out over mom's IRA?
Yeah. So not only did you lose mom or dad, but now maybe like half your siblings because of the whole process that followed suit, which is certainly what nobody wanted.
All estate planning is fundamentally is a clean set of directives that specifically call out what's at stake and who should get it and under what circumstances, so that this can be done as cleanly as possible. In life, of course, Jess, there are never any guarantees. People still might fight. Attorneys still might get their piece. But the idea being is if you care about the people who are going to be coming up behind you, inheriting some of this money, we believe that you have a responsibility to hand over those keys as cleanly as possible, if for no other reason, just to keep family unity intact.
Sure. So, I mean, it's not just wills we're talking about. It's trusts, it's healthcare proxies, it's power of attorneys. I went through some similar stuff in my family. My dad was in the hospital and a insurance bill went unpaid. My sister was on the policy, got in a car accident. The policy had lapsed and she was on the hook for all this money because nobody had power of attorney and was like checking on that stuff because it literally was the furthest things from our mind at that time. But, some proper estate planning really can make all the difference.
It's a really good point. I think a lot of times people think that estate planning documents are just wills and trusts, but it oftentimes has to do with living healthcare issues. We just had a client in the lobby yesterday, Jess. He just lost his wife this past year. So I was just trying to sympathize and put a hand on his shoulder and ask how he was doing. And he said the toughest part is that towards the end, there was this option to put her on life-saving support. And I wanted to do it so badly, but she had documented that that was not to happen. And I was going to try to rip up those documents and circumvent it because I'm losing my best friend. I'm losing my wife. But I thought, number one, I have to respect her wishes. And if I don't respect hers, by what right should I expect anybody to respect mine?
Sure.
And
That's so hard to go through.
so it's like this stuff doesn't matter until it's the only thing that matters. And I mean, this is our world, so we see this stuff all the time. But if we're not in the retirement space, some of these concepts I think are a little bit foreign to people. Yeah, what does happen in the hospital if I'm unresponsive and unconscious? Who looks out for me? How do I make it known what I want to have happen? Listen, you don't have to be a multi-millionaire
Sure.
to record some of this so that your so your wishes are respected. And, not only beyond the grave, but before you get the best possible care under the terms that are important to you.
Right. And even if you aren't doing it to make sure the kids don't fight, do it to make sure your wishes are being met there too. And it's funny, you say we do retirement planning, this is what we do, but this is actually why we have developed this family office. So we're not just financial planners here, but we have tax professionals and estate planning all under one roof.
Yeah, it happens all the time. We meet people who've been doing financial advisory, financial planning for years, and they have great portfolios and they might have some insurance on the side and similar. But then you ask them very basic questions. Hey, what happens in the hospital if you're unresponsive? Have you recorded what you want done or not done? Or what happens to all this loot when you're gone? And a lot of people, I haven't gotten around to that. that's not a complete, I mean, a financial plan accounts for, yes, the trips and the fun stuff, but it also has to address those contingencies, the unpleasant topics, illness, death. Listen, nobody wants to talk about this stuff, but you can't say that you have with a straight face that you have a plan until all these items are reviewed. So Jess, you're absolutely right. As we've grown as an entity, we believe it's so important to try to bring all these concepts under one roof. It's not just financial planning and advisory and investments, it's taxes, it's legal. So everything is unified and everything is recorded in one place.
So I think I would say the biggest truth out of all these myths is that retirement planning is very individualized, and you got to talk to a professional that knows your situation to help you plan for retirement.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's do it and live every day like it's Saturday.
Done.
Okay. High five to that.
She made me do it.
If you liked this video and it helped you, watch another one, and don't forget to hit subscribe.